empire. But, some of the things you've said, I'm almost scared talking to you and the sort of particularly well-informed members of your community, because some of the theory that you offer makes things make sense that don't otherwise make sense. And here's what I mean. When you were talking about the Federal Reserve and kind of the recirculating of money from, the bankers to the military-industrial complex to the politicians and so on, it's that cycle alone that explains, the Iraq War is a totally failed war as a matter of statecraft, but it's totally successful for laundering money. It's totally successful as a kind of high-level theft operation.
Sure. Billions, as you've talked about, billions in cash disappeared.
Right.
And nobody even cares. Nobody cares about that. And, of course, then there have been sort of the open payoffs to Halliburton and all the rest of the companies connected with the government who were running the occupation, very vicious and immoral occupation in Iraq. So, yeah, there's a lot of money to be made out of government, out of quote-unquote public service.
Right, but it kind of explains the whole messaging around the war because, one keeps being puzzled, well, this war is a disaster, but it doesn't see as statecraft, as, saving lives, as installing democracy. But no one seems that bothered about it. And if really the goal is, not that, but if the goal is this, redirecting of, trillions of dollars from point A to point B, that kind of makes it explains the kind of serenity with which this administration is throwing human beings into an inferno. It's a horrible, horrible, shocking conclusion, but it makes a kind of satanic sense. It actually explains some historical events. But boy, this is really challenging. It's very painful. So why haven't people who share your viewpoint made more inroads in having prominent conservatives stand up and say, whoa, this is not what we meant?
Because prominent conservatives do mean what's happened. Because the conservative movement, I would argue largely, for the last 50 years, has been an engine of fascism. It's been an engine of growth for the empire and for the war. So their rhetoric has not been that. But, what else is new? They lie. But in actual fact, they've sought to bring about exactly this sort of operation. So, yeah, it's even in an earlier day. British, say, colonialism didn't make sense from the standpoint of the average person in England, let alone, of course, from the standpoint of the poor colonial citizen.
Right.
But it made sense for the power elite and for the state. So the American empire, was it Chomsky who said that only Athens and America have had gigantic empires and pretended they didn't have an empire? But we have this empire that is a rip-off operation. It's about transfer of wealth. It's about redistribution of wealth from the average person to the people connected to the empire, to all the big companies and the state itself and the military, and they're all doing very well. So, indeed, all the government failures, whether we look at things like public schools or the Federal Reserve or the empire, they're failures from our standpoint, but they're not failures from the standpoint of the people who are ripping us off. They're very happy about it.
Very happy, and I now believe, after going through this journey I went on of a kind of awakening for Give Me Liberty, that I actually think I now think the failures of public schools, it serves them. It serves these people in power to have a population of Americans who can barely read, who can't think critically, and half of whom, according to a number of studies, entering college, don't know what our republic is supposed to look like. They can't even recognize democratic processes, let alone recognize when they're being threatened, because civics is disappearing. Half of, I get that the way civics is taught is not, adequate from your point of view or mine, but, how much less adequate that half of American young people now don't get any civics at all. And so, kids are being interviewed in surveys who now say that the First Amendment goes too far. It's when you completely disempower a population and let them forget their legacy as Americans and as patriots and what their rights and freedoms are and what the system is supposed to look like according to the framers, that you can manipulate them more easily. And they're like, what? Well, okay, you can deploy troops. I guess that makes sense. Or, well, gee, you can spy on me because I'm not doing anything wrong. It doesn't, one thing I really hoped to do with Give Me Liberty is to kind of awaken in people who are kind of slumbering, that kind of alert, that American high alert. Whoa, my freedoms are about to get, stepped on. This is not tolerable. Or, wow, someone's calling this person who disagrees with them a traitor, a terrorist. That's not, part of our core values. That leads nowhere good. Or, they're starting to purge the voter rolls. That, whether I'm a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, that is unacceptable. That's un-American. We need to reawaken those instincts in a hurry.
There's a reason that the federal government made sure that there are no courses in logic taught in any American public school. They want to stamp out independent thinking. They want to stamp out critical thinking. And, of course, they've succeeded in doing it.
You have evidence for that this is, it's not just been attrition?
Well, there was a time that logic, part of it's dumbing down. But, yes, it began actually during the run-up to World War II, and then gradually continuing through the 50s and the 60s. Do I have an evidence that somebody gave an order? No. But did this result come about from increasing federal control of local schools? Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, no wonder. Boy, you're really explaining a lot of positions that I, as a progressive, have never fully understood. I never understood the hostility, some other parts of the political spectrum toward the Department of Education. But if your point of view is that local control of education means that we can resist government intervention that might not be in the interests of an informed, citizenry, that certainly makes sense. Wow. So
there's a reason. The reason the Department of Education wants to run every curriculum in America. There's a reason that they want to decide, because they want pro-state and stupido materials taught to children.
Right.
So it's not a coincidence.
You are completely right. Oh, wow. All right, we have our hands full. We have so much work to do.
Well,
it's extraordinary.
It sure has been great to have you on the show, and I want to urge everybody to read The End of America, read the other books by Naomi Wolf, listen to her on YouTube, and I hope you'll be reading her on LouRockwell.com as well. I
will be honored to send you writing for the website, and it's been an absolute privilege to talk to you, and thank you so much for your patience in informing me about what I need to know.
Well, it's just been great to talk to you. Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
You've been listening to The Lou Rockwell Show, produced by LouRockwell.com, the best-read libertarian website in the world. If you'd like to advertise on this podcast or on the website, email advertise@LouRockwell.com. And thanks for listening.